Hi, today we're taking a look at the Organelle M by Critter and Guitari and the OP-1 by Teenage Engineering. It's easy to mistake these two synths or two devices as maybe being the same because they kind of have a similar form factor. They both have a screen, both have 4 knobs, both have a speaker, a microphone input. Yeah, just on the outside, they look very similar, but they are very different from each other. This is just going to be a quick overview. I'm going to do just the key factors between these two. So to put it simply, the Organelle M is mainly good for sound design and creating cool sounds, and is more open-ended in its approach to music in general and creating it. With the OP-1, it's more self-contained, and it's also mainly good for making songs or sketching out song ideas on the fly within the device itself. This is kind of a gross oversimplification of these two devices because they can do a lot more than just that, but that's mainly the key features of these two. Some of the limitations I've found with the Organelle is its ability to, or non-ability to, record on the device itself. It has a myriad of sounds and whatever have you on this thing, but there's no concrete way of recording it all into one track or 4-track cassette recorder or something, kind of like how the OP-1 does it. Along those similar lines, it can't communicate with other patches. What I mean by that is if you find a cool patch in one section, let's say the synthesizer section, and then you find another patch in the effects section, there's no way for these two to communicate and talk to each other unless you have knowledge in programming and pure data. Then theoretically you can probably make a hybrid of these two by, I don't know, figuring out. I'm not a pure data programmer, so I bet there's some way to do it, as it's been kind of explained to me on the internet. One really great strength I've found with the Organelle M is its capacity to work with other gear and hardware and other instruments in general. Its audio input port makes it really good for a kind of pseudo guitar amp, a little mini pseudo guitar amp, or a mini effects processor. Not only can it work with other gear in that way, but it can also work with other gear using the MIDI input and outputs on this thing. It takes MIDI type A, which is very important information if you're going to buy extension cables or cables at all for this thing. However, its ability to sync with other gear through MIDI and also Ableton Link makes it very, very good. Sorry, this is me in post. I forgot to say the word good, but I carry on here. So you can use apps with Ableton Link or Ableton Live itself. Now the OP-1, on the other hand, it's kind of, like I said before, it's its own self-contained thing. So although it does technically have MIDI connectivity to other devices, it doesn't really work that well and is still kind of buggy even 10 years after it's been released. Especially when I tried to hook up the OP-1 with the Organelle M and use the sequencers on the OP-1, things kind of just went haywire, and I ended up just being frustrated and not using it whatsoever. So its downside and its upside is that it's standalone and can kind of function by itself, but yeah, that's kind of the double-edged sword to that. Unless you have maybe pocket operators, this can work well with other pocket operators, but it's not really gonna work well with other gear with MIDI. Well, in my case, really, that I've found. The key takeaway I wanted to have with this video is mainly for the Organelle M, as there's not a lot of information out for it yet, but a lot of the full use you're going to get out of the Organelle M is mainly from knowing how to program and pure data. So the big question with these two devices is, are they worth it? I'll start with the Organelle first. The Organelle M, its asking price is $600 plus the tax and shipping and whatever. I'd say that's only worth it if you have a desire to program with this thing, or you know pure data already. You're going to run into a lot of limitations with this if you don't know how to program your own patches or tweak your own patches. Half of the Organelle M is playing with it and discovering all the cool patches, and then I think the other half of it is being able to tinker with things. That is what I think makes it worth the full $600 price. Now the OP-1, is that worth it? It's asking for a $1,300 price plus shipping and tax and everything. For me, it was kind of worth it, as it's something that I've wanted for a long time. Its main selling feature for me was the ability to record anywhere on the go. There's no real other small synth that can do quite what it does. You could maybe get away with it with the Organelle M if you had, like, say your phone and an interface connected to it, or maybe like a field recorder or something with the Organelle M, but it's not very, I should say, quick about it. The OP-1 has a sort of quickness to it where you can move from patch to patch with like an instant, or mode to mode within an instant. With the Organelle, you kind of have to like scroll through things and kind of wait through load times and stuff, but it could be done possibly in a budget way, but I find it much more simpler and much more convenient to do it on the OP-1. So that's it. The OP-1, good for fun, good for being its own thing, and the Organelle M, good with a lot of other things, and good for sound designing. Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this quick little thing. I'm out.